Hello, everybody. Herman Dulce, CEO of Sloan Enterprises. Welcome to the podcast. This is our 4th episode of Execute with Mr. Results, and we have a wonderful guest here today, my brother, Gregory Plaisir, CEO of Self-Tech. You see the branding. It's everywhere. So, bro, thank you for coming. I appreciate you for coming on the show. We got a lot to talk about today, right? We got a lot to squeeze into the time that we have. You're a CEO of several businesses, right?
Yeah.
You're financially free. You have options and you have choices in your life. So I want to talk about that journey real quick.
Okay.
So a previous guest we had, he talked about return on investment in regards to anything that he's investing in his life right now, right? Mm-hmm. So you went to college, it didn't work out, you dipped off, right? Mm-hmm. Why?
Honestly, I was never really a fan of like going to school and learning a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't have to do with what I'm trying to become. Mm-hmm. Like I went to college plenty of times, and each time I tried a different major, and I found the same struggle. Like, okay, I want to be a psychologist. Why do I have to learn about why do I have to learn about American history? Where does that tie in? Mm-hmm. Or how does this help me make money? Because my mind said everything I learned has to be something that equals to money, right? Mm-hmm. So each time I would try that, it just wouldn't add up. So I would go to school, and then I would go to work, and I'm like, well, I'm going to school, I ain't see $1 yet, but every time I go to work, I see $1. So
right.
After a while, I don't think nobody even knows this. Like, I dropped out of school and nobody knew it. Like, I would wake up every day, put my book bag on, go to work.
Really? And they thought you were still in school?
They thought I was still going to school.
How long did you do that?
I'm going to say probably anywhere from 6 months to probably like a year while I was out in New York. Like, every day I would wake up, make me breakfast, I eat my breakfast, put my book bag on, go to work.
Almost for a year?
Almost for a year.
Nobody asked for a report card? Like, hey, how'd the semester go?
After a while, my parents was like, when do you work? Like, you're always at school. And I'm like, well, my schedule's just busy. And then after a while, I think they just started to put it together. Like, I don't never see you studying. You don't have any books. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I stopped going to school like a year ago.
A year? So you broke it to them?
Yeah, I stopped going to school like a year ago.
Now, was that one of the best decisions you ever made?
Hands down.
Why?
If I had went to, I know for sure, if I had went to school, I probably wouldn't make the money that I make now, to be honest. Like, the only way I'd make the money I make now, I'd have to become like a doctor or a lawyer or something.
Or sell
like
drugs.
That. Yeah, that too. That would be my only options. Like, I don't know, I feel like I have a sense of freedom now that college probably wasn't going to teach me. Even when I compare my journey to my friends who went to college, I don't feel like I missed anything. I don't feel like I missed anything at all.
That's heavy. So let's talk about your financial freedom now. Let's talk about these friends that work. I know in my case, sometimes there's a separation that happens, right? And it's no shade, it's all love. Has that happened to you in your journey of financial freedom?
I'm gonna say it hasn't happened, but it's happening.
Okay.
Where I can sense that space, that separation happening where, like, a friend that hit me up like, hey, let's play 2K, and I'm like, I can't. I got to create this slideshow. I got to teach. I got to do that. I can't. I don't really have that time. Or, hey, let's play this. And I'm like, I can't. Like, I'm saying, hey, let's catch a drink. I don't have the time. Like, my time is split between business, family, work. Like, I don't really have the time. And then on top of that, the stuff that they're interested in, I'm no longer interested in that no more. Like, you get what I'm saying? It doesn't add up to me. Stuff that I thought was fun is like, it's not really fun to me, bro. It doesn't. Or like even just things that I want to do in life. Like, for instance, like if I decide like, hey, next month I want to go on a vacation, I only have a few certain friends that can do that with me. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, so it just that alone creates the separation. And then on top of that, I believe that because if you follow me on social media, and I just realized it because a friend pointed it out, but my whole life is on Instagram. Like, I had a friend, I haven't spoken to her since 2016. We reconnected, and I'm like, hey, let's catch up. And she was like, well, let me tell you about me, because I know everything that happened with you. So you'll see, like, so when people see my life, they can already see the, like, well, I can't do what Greg is doing or what the Rock Boys is doing, whatever the case may be. So little by little, I see it causing separation, or there's just a gap where it's like, these friends, I can only do but so much. So I don't think it's happened yet, but I feel it happening. It hurts, but you can't take everybody with you. So.
Does that bother you?
It bothers me because they're my friends. So I would like, if I consider somebody my friend, the same prayers I do for myself is the same prayers I do for my friends, right? So if I see that I can take a trip where I can support my family with no problems, all of this stuff, and I see a friend struggling, of course I'm gonna try, but I'm also big on, I could bring you to the water, but I can't force you to drink. So I've given opportunities to my friends. I could show that by just showing how many friends I've put in the same position as me.
Right.
So obviously,
that's the real flex.
Right. So for me, if I've put you in a place to give you opportunity, and I'm here on top of that, like even if I didn't put you in that place, you know I'm here. You know who I am. You know what I could do for you. Reach out. Reach out. I'm not the type of person that's going to chase you to change your life.
Okay.
You reach out to me, like Kels, for example. Kels hit me about the course. I said, no problem. Here's everything you need. Gave it to him. Claude, here. Stan, everybody, here. I've never turned down a friend, ever.
6 figures later.
They all good.
They all good.
They all good.
So let's talk about the business. Let's talk about that, and then we'll backtrack into how you got to being financially free. Let's talk about the company, the name, the logo, how you came up with it, and what you're doing right now to help people be financially free.
Right. So Self-Tech pretty much started in my dining room. It's actually, this is why I'm big on manifesting, because I manifested Self-Tech, and you know this, I manifested it by accident in a joking way. You have put me onto the QA course. I took the course, and while I'm taking the course and I see how he's doing it and how horrible of a job he's doing, he's still getting a success rate. I was like, man, Herm, I'm going to learn this stuff and watch. I'm going to end up teaching it jokingly. I said that. And then a year or two later, I ended up literally like, man, let me launch this course, see what happens.
See what happens.
In my first class, I think I had 10 students in my first class. And those 10 were like mainly, to be honest, it was really just friends. It was people I knew everybody in my class, which is why I felt comfortable doing it in my dining room. So it was literally at my dining room, my brand new dining room table. My wife was pissed, but I'm like, yo, listen, we're gonna mess up this table, but I'm gonna make enough money for us to buy another table. Don't worry about it. So I started off like that, and pretty much what Self-Tech is we're teaching people how to change their career and join the IT field via learning software testing. There's this stigma with IT, and all my students, when I talk to people, they always say, like, as soon as I tell somebody my title, like what I do for like my 9 to 5, I'm like, I'm a software test engineer. They're like, oh, wow.
One egg.
Yeah, like, oh man, you must how much math you had to, I didn't have to do nothing. I didn't have to do no schooling for this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? People have a stigma of to get into IT, you have to be like this genius, right? And it's like, no, there's different branches, different ways you could get into IT and still make great money, right? Because technically, software testing, it's not at the bottom of the totem pole, but it's dang sure not the top, and you still make 6 figures. So I teach people the process of software testing, how to software test, interview questions, interview answers. I show them how to create their resumes specifically so that it has keywords in there that recruiters are looking for. What's the questions they're gonna ask you? What jobs to apply to, what not to apply to, things of the experiences that I have so that they don't go through the same struggles that I went through. And that's all we're doing. And it started off with software testing, but now it's becoming like, okay, we're also going to do software testing automation. We're also going to teach people how to become business analysts. And so there's different fields. As I'm growing in the field, I'm making more connections, and people are reaching out like, hey, this is what I do. Can I join? Yeah, you can. You could show me how you can teach it. If you could teach it to me, then you could teach it to my students as well. So that's Self-Tech right there. And we're also becoming like a consultant agency. So it's literally like when companies need people to test their software, to just hire my company. Who's going to be my company? The same students that I taught.
Nice.
So it's just so everything slowly but surely. 2 years in, but everything's coming full circle. So.
I love it. I love it. So you have a business that sustains itself. It's making you good money. You are teaching people how to become financially free by doing that. Also, the students that you have, like, where are their backgrounds? What are they doing when they come to you?
I've had students who are unemployed. I've had students who were doing Uber. I had students who were nurses. I'm trying to think. I had one student. He was working for his uncle's extermination company. That's probably like the weirdest one I've had. I'm like, wow, you were pretty much an exterminator. Wow, okay, that's interesting. They come from all different backgrounds, like literally, just like me. Like before I was doing this, I worked at T-Mobile. You don't need the way I teach you in the process, the tips and tricks, and just like my man Fitz says, it's all finesse. I teach you how to finesse it. Anybody can do it.
And make it happen. So you worked at T-Mobile. What were you doing there?
When I was at the last retail job I had was Comcast. But when I was always a sales associate, I think the highest I got at Comcast, I was an assistant manager.
Okay.
And I know why you asked me about the T-Mobile. So with T-Mobile, that's when I first was trying to learn QA. And I reached out to my manager. I remember that. I reached out to my manager like, hey, I need to be off on Sundays.
Yep. I remember this.
You know what I'm saying? I need to be off on Sundays because this is a course I really want to take. It's only on Sundays. I'll work any day during the week. I'll work Saturdays. I don't care what time schedule you put me on. I'll do it. He was sitting at his desk. He was listening to me talk. I was like, what's the course about? And I told him what the course is about. He was like, yeah, I can't do it. Didn't look at his schedule, didn't look at anything. He was like, it's like Sundays is a slow day. You're one of our heavy hitters. I need you here. And I'm like, yeah, but I'll make up my number. Like, I can make up Monday through Saturday. I can make up my numbers. I'll work double hard to make sure my numbers are stuffed enough that you're good on Sundays. And I even reached out to like coworkers, like, hey, I know you're off on Sundays. I'm off this. Let's switch. And everybody knew what I was trying to do, so they were okay with it. Because at that T-Mobile store, like, we were like a family.
Right.
So I did everything on my part to make his part easy. He literally sat at his desk,
Wow.
barely looked up and was like, nah, I can't do it. So I looked at him. There was a Sprint store like 4 doors down. I knew the manager there because I used to work at Sprint. I knew him. And I walked over there on my lunch break, and I literally was like, can you pay me this and that? Yeah. Can I get Sundays off? Yeah. Would you take me back? Yeah. Cool. And I left.
That's how you left T-Mobile.
That's
I
how
didn't know
left
this
T-Mobile.
story.
That's how I left it. I literally went down.
So you walked 4 doors down.
4 doors down, went over there. Because I was a good salesman. So like they knew, like any company I went to, they knew like I can sell. I'll get you your numbers.
So you walked back to T-Mobile.
I went back to T-Mobile. I
quit?
didn't say nothing. I waited till everything was official. I think that took maybe 2 weeks or so. And then once everything was official, I waited because the rules at T-Mobile was once you give them a letter saying you're working for competition, they got to walk you out the door anyway. So I knew that. So I worked, made the money I needed to make, gave my letter of resignation, so they walked me out the door, and then that was the last time I worked at T-Mobile. Then I got to Sprint. When I worked at Sprint, I was able to take the course, start learning the stuff, and that's how I got into it.
And that's how you got into it. So what was that feeling when you left that corporate America and you got into the 6-figure job that you studied for, you learned about it? What was that day like?
That's probably like one of the craziest days of my life, because I remember when you did it and you were telling me, and I felt when you were telling me, but to experience it for yourself, where I remember at T-Mobile, unless it was a commission check, my regular checks, like if I pay a bill, like if I paid my mortgage with the T-Mobile check, then that means I'm done until my next check. Like I ain't got nothing left. My commission checks were the big check. So to see that, I think I worked 4 days at my first job. I think I worked 4 days and they paid me for those 4 days. And I saw that my 4 days working there equaled a commission check at T-Mobile.
Wow.
And I was like,
I remember that, yeah.
Wow, this is different. And on top of that, I had started QA around the time my wife was pregnant. So I was still on maternity leave technically at Sprint. So I was getting Sprint month checks in while I was getting QA money. So at the time I just felt rich. I'd pay this bill, pay that bill, pay this. Nah, I don't need a payment plan. Pay it all. It was just like that. So it was probably the best feeling simply because I was able to look my wife in the eye and tell her if you're not ready to go back to work yet, I got it. We good.
Wow, that's heavy talk.
We good.
That's heavy talk. We interviewed Sherby's wife in another episode, and that feeling of being able to do stuff like that for your wife is super important. So you're married. How long you been married now?
It's about to be 5 years this year. Maybe we'll make it 5 years.
Woo, that's a long charge.
Yeah.
Wow, 5 years. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Now, it's important to have somebody by your side during these transitions in your journey. Let's talk about how you chose somebody. What was it in her that made you decide this is going to be the partner that can help me reach my dreams?
She was around before I had $1. Like back when I met her in New York. So even in New York, when I moved to New York, my family was supporting me. So even back then she had interest in me and we spoke. And then even when I quit school and I started like hustling at work and making decent money, or what I thought back then was decent money, it was decent money for my age. She was still around. She never asked me for $1. No matter if she was struggling, she never asked me for $1, nothing of that. Even to this day, still doesn't really ask me for $1. So she supported me literally at my lowest time. She was there when I was in New York. Then when I came back to Philly, I started working at Sprint, and I was kind of trying to get back on my feet. And I remember it was around my birthday. I didn't have a car. I think my car had either broke down or I didn't. Actually, no, my car had got repossessed. My car had got repossessed. And it was my birthday, and she's like, nah, you can't just spend, remind you, we wasn't even together at that point because we had broke up. And she's like, nah, I'm in Philly now, you're in Philly now. She's like, let's go out for your birthday. All right, cool. She literally picked me up. She picked up one of my friends. She picked up Danae for me. Fitz met us down South Street. We had a good time down South Street, came back. I'm like, dang, she really, she didn't ask me no questions about my repossession. She didn't do, I'm like,
she
all right, cool. Yeah, cool. And then on top of that, when my car got repossessed, I ended up buying a hoopty. That hoopty was breaking down on me, and my credit was shot back then. I think Fitz was there for that too.
Yeah.
She went to the dealership with me. co-signed for me.
Ooh.
Co-signed for like, hey, I'd like, you know.
I got you.
And not only did she co-sign for me back then, she also put the deposit down. So it's like she literally got me the car. I mean, I paid her back, of course, but like it's like she got me the car. And she's done more stuff like this. Like the last time, like I was down, we were literally we bought a house, and you know I was working retail stuff, so I still wasn't really like we put everything we had to buy the house, literally. We was backed up on bills because I wasn't a QA yet. I was still working retail, and she was at the time I think she was pregnant or like early pregnant stage. And one day I came home earlier than her, I believe. Came home, flicked the light, nothing. I'm like, the power must be out. Let me go downstairs, breaker.
No.
I'm like, what is going on here? Like, I don't understand. So I go upstairs and I'm like, I'm like, yo, the light's not working. She's like, that's super weird. Like, call the company. I'm like, all right, whatever. But it was like during the day, so it was still bright outside. And I'm just happened to be going through the mail. And we were very horrible back then at checking our mail. And I'm going through the mail, didn't even realize we've been had a shut-off notice.
Dang.
That shut-off notice probably sat there for like 4 or 5 days.
Right.
And like I said at the time, I didn't really have money like that. I was living paycheck to paycheck. So literally, I didn't even have it was a Wednesday, I think. I didn't even have the money to pay the bill. And I think it was only like,
even if you saw it in advance.
It was only like $500 or something like that they wanted us to pay. And literally for 2 days, it was Thursday, I'm sorry, it was cut off on a Tuesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, my wife went to the dollar store, bought candles, lit the house, like bathroom, the important places. She lit candles. She's like, yo, I ain't got that much money neither because I'm not getting paid till Friday as well. She had a little bit of money. She was like, all right, cool. Went to the Chinese store, got the Chinese food, got a plate, gave me more of it, took less of it, and I'm like, no, we're gonna split it even. She's like, nah, you 6'7", like you gotta eat, like you know what I'm saying, you gotta eat. Split it with me, didn't complain or nothing. We sat in the dark and we ate. I remember at that time I looked and I was like, never again.
Never again.
Never again would this ever happen.
I remember when you told the group chat this story.
Yeah.
That was years ago, and you never.
I didn't even put it in chat. Like, and this is why you gotta check on your friends sometimes, because they go through struggles that they might be too embarrassed to say. Because there was no way I was about to put in a group chat like, yo, my lights got cut off. Like, you get what I'm saying? Even though I know y'all would have boom, 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 handled it, but I'm like, nah, this is a struggle. This is an L I gotta take. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I remember just looking at her, and I'm like, I didn't tell her that, but in my mind, I'm like, this will never happen again. And that's what made me go back to study QA. I was like, that's my only way to exit this, to get my freedom back.
Right. Sometimes, you need to hit a certain place. You need to have a why. All right, so to get out of this, I need to do this. And some people just don't have that motivation because they're comfortable, man. Like, people working their 9 to 5s and it's happy. If you're happy, I'm happy. But people want certain things, but unless they have that passion, like, I want this so bad, I'm willing to do whatever it takes.
For me, it's not even that I want something. For me, I think what drives me is that I don't want that to happen again. It's the not wanting it to happen that I think that drives me. Because anytime, like, I feel like I'm getting comfortable and I think about when my lights was cut off, I'm like, nah, lights can't get cut off here. Water can't get off, nothing. Now I have a son, nah. I never want to tell my son no because I can't. I tell him no because I don't want to. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the stuff that drives me, the stuff that I don't want. The wants, they're going to happen regardless, but it's the don't wants that I don't want to happen.
So you are literally changing people's lives because you changed your own life. Talk to me about what some of your clients are saying, like the lives that you have changed. Like, where are they now?
I'm horrible at taking compliments, and these people are like, sometimes I want to, like, they treat me sometimes like I'm God to them. Like, I came and I just, like, wash their sins away or something. Like, it's just like, I'll tell them, like, yo, please, like, I'm regular. Like, I'm a regular guy. Like one student, I remember, this was last year, he reached out to me and invited me to his wedding because he was just like, yo, I would not be able to get married right now, or at least the way I'm getting married, if it wasn't for you. Like, you came, you changed my life. I lived on this, I listened to all your advice, and now I'm able to pay my wedding cash. Like, he was able to, because he more than doubled his salary.
So he maintained the same lifestyle. There you go.
And he paid for his wedding cash. I had that. I had people like she was started off a client back when I used to do photography. Then she became a client of mine when I started the QA course. And I helped her out. She got a QA job, and I remember randomly, she was like, yo, a lot of times people don't thank people, but she was like, yo, when I came to you with that money for the course and all that, like, I was fighting depression. Like, I just didn't like the way my life was going. And she was just like, you helping me, teaching me, and you like the motivation I see you doing this and that, like that really forced me like, yeah, I can't waste Greg time. I can't waste Greg time. And she's like, to this day, she's a friend of mine. Like, we became friends, and we both doing QA and all that. So people often reach out like, yo, bro, this is like one of my students, each time he gets a new job, he texts me like, yo, bro, this is crazy, man. I just want to thank you. I'm like, bro, it's a year later. Like, now it's you.
Wild.
It's not even me no more. You're putting in the work. Like, you know what I'm saying? But people still reach out. And I'm still not used to taking that praise from people, like, you know, like, hey, you changed my life. Hey, you changed my life. Even when, like, especially like, it really makes me uncomfortable from the fellas.
Right.
Like when Kalinsky, Claude, all these people like, yo, bro, like you really like helped me out. I'm like, dang, yo, like it makes me feel good, but then it also puts a heavy load on me. It also puts that, because then I know each time a person signs up for my course, what I'm responsible for, what this person is putting into me. Because a lot of times my students tell me like, yo, that was my last. Like, when I paid you that was all I had.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I remember like the one student I was telling you about, she took the money she was about to spend on her kids for Christmas and paid me.
So that's a heavy, that was heavy. She literally gave you her last.
Yeah, she paid me literally
She bet
Christmas
on herself
Eve.
and invested in herself.
Now
Those
she
are
good.
the stories. Yeah, now
she
she's good.
She has a 6-figure job and 2 or 3 businesses.
And 2 or 3 businesses. Wow. Best money she ever spent.
Yeah, she has she does real estate. She has a truck, I believe. And then she does vending with her kids. Not only did she start a business, but she started businesses for her kids as well. Yeah,
all of the investment she gave you.
She's a beast. She's a beast.
So let's talk a little bit more about the day-to-day of Self-Tech. What does Self-Tech do? Is QA? What is QA? What is that?
Right. So QA is quality assurance software testing, right? So people hear that and they're like, oh man, you got to know coding. You got to be super smart. No, you don't. QA is literally you're learning a process and how to implement that process, the details of that process, because there's fine details that are very important for you doing your job. Like I had a conversation where I was talking to Daff one time, and she was like, yeah, your job, you know, you get paid and all, that's nice and all, but my job is important. I'm a nurse. I save lives. And I looked at her and I was like, yeah, you save lives, but who do you think tests the technology that you save lives with?
Right.
If I don't do my job, do you think you can still do your job, or are we just as important?
Nice.
And she literally was just like,
touche.
You got it. Like, you got it. So
right.
like, you know, we play the background. When developers create a software, it's my job and the people I teach, the people I work with, for my team, to test that software to ensure that it meets clients and expectations. For example, let's say your website, you needed somebody to test your website. You would hire somebody like me. I would actually go on your website and I manually literally click on everything. If you're supposed to be able to log into Sloan, I'm gonna check to see if you can actually do that. If I put the incorrect password, what happens? If I don't put it correct, I'm literally just testing the system to ensure. I'm putting myself in the end user's shoes. And that's literally what I'm teaching people, because there's a process to it. Of course, when I'm talking now, I make it sound easy, which it is easy, but you have to learn the process first. You get what I'm saying? You have to learn how to do it. I love it. It's you know how it is. It's a background job. People don't check for me at my job unless something didn't get done or something went wrong.
Right.
As long as everything's good, nobody's checking for me, nobody's really bothering me. Especially now that I'm working from home, is just get my job done and nobody bothers me. I can go literally, sometimes I go days where I'm not, I hope my manager don't see this, but I can go 8 hours and I don't speak to anybody, and I probably didn't even touch my laptop. And that's a paid day.
If there's nothing being released, there's nothing to
nothing
test.
I can test.
So what's the next level for Self-Tech? Like what are the next plans? So you have social proof. You've gotten a lot of people 6-figure jobs getting into software testing. What's next? What's the next level?
So and it's funny, I learned this from like you, and I learned it from our younger mentee, Quadir. Like I learned it from him. Like now I'm more so focused on working on the business.
Okay.
Because beforehand I'm so involved in the business that I can't grow it. Right? So I'm so busy teaching, I'm so busy helping people, answering this call, that call, just, I have no time to add on to the courses. Because by now, we're 2 years in, like when I was thinking about it back then, there's so much more courses that I could have added a while ago, but I didn't have the time because I'm so involved in it. So now I took a step back and I created an ebook. The ebook just launched yesterday. With that ebook alone, it gives you all the gems, all the tips, everything you need to know to get a job, right? That ebook alone is how I got a job. Everything that's in the ebook is how I learned.
Nice.
So, and I tell my students all the time, what I give you at Self-Tech is nowhere near what I got or what you got.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? We had a guy who, like, you came in, he's like, anybody got questions?
Right.
No. All right, cool. So he just started asking questions. He's not really teaching you. Self-Tech, we actually are teaching you. It's like we're dang near like holding your hand, teaching you like, yes, A, B, Z. Like, you know what I'm saying? We're actually teaching you. So I created the ebook. But then what I started noticing, because all my classes, all my courses are recorded. So I had, just for I don't know, for my students' purposes, I started saving those recordings. And then when I would start a new class, I would give them access to those recordings just in case somebody want to speed up because maybe the class is moving too slow or they're in a situation. Because I have students who are in a situation where they need to get a job as soon as possible, right? Because the information I teach you, you can learn it. If you buckle down, you can learn it in 30 to 45 days.
Nice.
I've done it. I've had students who've done it. You can learn it that quick. So then I would give them access to it. And I started noticing that more of my students were getting jobs because they put the time in to just watch those videos, ask me questions. Watch those videos, ask me questions. And that's literally how students are getting. Like, I had my last student, well, not my last, but one of the students who got a job in the past month, she's in my current class, which isn't ending for another like 3-4 weeks, but she watched the videos.
So she's already ahead.
She's got a job already. She's working.
Oh, wow.
She's working. And she's still taking the class, and she's working. She still joins the class, everything. I'm like, well, your journey's kind of done. She's like, no, I'm going to keep learning with y'all.
Wow.
I'm going to keep learning with y'all. So it's literally, so I created the ebook so that once I realized people can learn without me physically having to be that, now it's just the e-course.
Ooh, you about to 10X it now.
It's a full e-course. You're getting the same information I would have taught you in person. What's the benefit about the e-course to me is that it's a live recording, right? Most of my students ask the same questions. I'm not going to say it's very rare, but it's not that often that I get new questions that I've never heard before, right? So what happens is when you're watching those videos, those recordings, and people are asking questions, the questions you would have had for me, they're already answered.
They already answered.
Somebody asked it, I answered it. What I noticed is like when my students who are watching the recordings, when we have a one-on-one session, they might have like 1 or 2 questions for me. And they're like, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm like, I know you scheduled it for 30 minutes, but I knew it was only gonna be 15 minutes. You don't have much to ask. Everything you need is there. So the e-course is my main focus now. That should be coming out probably in the next week or two, hopefully in the next week. And we're launching that after we launch the e-course.
Well, real quick, so whenever somebody sees this, when will it launch? Because
in about probably, I'm gonna say probably by January 11th.
January 11th, 2021. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna launch, and that one is full pace. And I still, even with that, I still give people access to me, as far as they can set an appointment and we could talk if they need some type of help. Because I don't. Because like I said, when somebody pays me their money, I feel a heavy load. So each time somebody signs up for my course, my shoulders are just like.
Right.
Because I'm like, damn, I gotta change another person. I gotta help somebody else. Right? So I still give them access to me. But then on top of that, there's so many different. Everything's a finesse, right? So a cousin of mine, she married. Her husband that she married. He follows me on Instagram. We became cool because we do trucking together as well. And he reached out to me one day. He was like, yo, Greg, I want to be part of Self-Tech. And I'm like, okay, what can you do for Self-Tech? Like, everybody wants a part of Self-Tech. What do you? He's like, I'm a BA. I'm a business analyst. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's talk. Right. Let's talk. So now
business analysts work directly with quality assurance testers. Go ahead.
Correct. So now we're working on a course where I can teach people to become a business analyst if they want as well.
Wow.
So, and anybody, if you look up business analyst, you look it up, you'll see business analysts make great money too. That's another 6-figure job, right? Then after we settle that, we're going to do automation. I got somebody who's going to teach my students automation. Automation now, that's the next level right there. An automation tester at the minimum makes $130, $140. I know automation testers who make more than that. So that's the next level. And that's where, and the most important thing for me this year is that we become that consultation company.
Okay.
Because once we become that consultation company, it's almost like I can guarantee my students work. I can guarantee that. So I'll teach you and I'll hire you.
Okay, this is great stuff. I'm really excited to see what's next with Self-Tech, the ebook, the website, the e-course. This is amazing. Tell everybody how they can get in contact with you. Website, phone number, Instagram. Give them some contact.
So phone number is probably the best way to get me. It's 215-800-6717. You text that number. I'm always gonna hit you right back. Email is selftech@gmail.com. You could try that one. If you don't get me at that one, you can do gregp@selftechitsolutions.net. That gets you there. If you want to talk to me, you go on the website, selftechitsolutions.com, book a consultation, and I think on the website gives you 30 minutes free. You can talk to me for 30 minutes, and I'll answer any question that you have. If it's an actual like one-on-one, you need help, you can book that one. That one is $50. And we sit there for about 45 to an hour, and we discuss anything that you need to discuss. My Instagram is self_tech. You'll find us there. I post on there as much as I can. Anything that Self-Tech is doing or any announcements we have, I post it on there.
Post the results of people who got their job offers.
Correct.
Yeah.
I always post. I actually have like 2 or 3 more people I got to post. I just don't have the time to post them right now. And in my personal page, if people want to follow the personal page, is G_Plaisir, Plaisir. But if you go on the Self-Tech page, it'll lead you to that as well.
Excellent. So I have one more question for you. I asked all my interviewers this. How old are you now, Greg?
30. I just turned 30 last year.
Just turned 30, right? So 61-year-old Greg, right? You're going to meet him, right? What is 61-year-old Greg going to say when he meets you? It's a loaded question. It's heavy. It's heavy. What would you like for him to say to you?
We did it.
We did it.
We did it.
Excellent.
And when we say we did it, that means everything that I promised my friends I would become, everything I promised my family, my wife, my son, everything that I envisioned, we did it. It's done. Like it's done. Now we're just enjoying the fruits of our labor.
I love it.
That's what 61 Greg should be doing.
I love it. Greg, I appreciate you. Thank you for executing and being financially free. This is Herman Dolce, CEO of Sloan Enterprises. Thank you for tuning in to the Execute podcast with Mr. Results. I'll talk to you soon.